Hi, this is Dana Arcuri, author, speaker, survivor, and advocate from DanaArcuri.com. Today's topic is based on someone's comment to me. And so the title of today's topic is, You Don't Just Get Over Narcissistic Abuse. This person had reached out to me in a comment asking me, how do you move on and get over these toxic people? And because the dynamics of unhealthy relationships are extremely challenging, there is not a simple answer. I wish that I could say to you that my healing journey was just smooth sailing and perfect and no tears and no frustrations and no heartache, but that's the furthest from the truth. If you're new to my channel, you may want to check out the earlier videos from 2 years ago in 2018. The one thing that it taught me about having videos on YouTube and being so vulnerable, putting myself out there, you dress up, you show up, and you share your true story. But in doing so, it may have been scary initially, back in 2018, when I did start creating videos for the community who has dealt with narcissistic abuse. So you might be a scapegoat. You might be the black sheep of the family. You might be someone who's heartbroken. But what I have learned is this: we are not alone. We are not alone. The longer I've been creating these videos, the longer I've been sharing my story and writing my books, I have come to discover there are millions upon millions of people just like you and me. And they are in anguish because they've been through the hard rock moments with betrayal, with manipulation, with gaslighting, with the cheating spouse, with toxic siblings who are bullying you, mobbing you, stalking you, who are just treating you so abusively. And therefore, we're going to talk today about this entire theme of you don't just get over it. And so we're going to begin with this. I'm always amazed, never ceased to be surprised at people who say shocking things on social media. And so often people are like, oh, I just got over it. I just moved on and you need to get over it too. I'm going to just cut to the chase. We don't just get over abuse. You don't just get over trauma. You don't just get over when a family or a spouse or an intimate partner hurts you and betrays you and tramples all over your boundaries. You do not just move on. So these people who are saying this, they don't realize that, number one, this whole idea, oh, I just moved on, I just got over it. Ha! No, you did not. Oh, it's going to haunt you. It's going to show up in your dreams. You're going to have triggers. Someday you're going to hear a song. Might be your song that you had with the ex-narc. And you're going to realize, oh, hell, this just is not over yet. This whole thing with healing and recovering, it is a long-term process. You don't just say, nope, I'm done, because they're not done, because the narc isn't done, because they're going to chase you, they're going to hound you, they're going to spy on you, they're going to manipulate you, and oh boy, they're going to create some serious and ugly smear campaigns against you, and they're going to have your name trashed. They are looking to destroy you and your reputation. So for those people who are like, oh, I'm just getting over it, and oh, I'm totally fine. Oh, good luck with that, honey. Good luck with that. Because the truth is, the cold, hard truth of the reality of narcissistic abuse, and then we're going to include bullying and narcissistic and toxic siblings and family members and husbands and on. We cannot just think that we could just turn the page and forget about it, because it will not leave us. That whole thing that, the body keeps the score. There's a book and it's about trauma. And it's basically saying that even if you want to try to forget, even if you want to move on, your body triggers. You have nightmares. You might have insomnia. You might have PTSD. You might have flashbacks. There's all kind of things. You might find yourself in fight, flight, or freeze. There are just so many different forms of trauma, and narcissistic abuse is one of them. And if you are dealing with complex PTSD or PTSD, depression, anxiety, physical pain, maybe an autoimmune condition, chronic pain, and on, you can understand and fully acknowledge that we will not just quickly get over our past abuse. And so let's move into this discussion, people. So here we go. We're not going to just slap a Band-Aid on that wound. When we are brokenhearted, when we have been betrayed, there is a wound, a trauma wound from narcissistic abuse. And we can't just put a Band-Aid on it, people. Why? Because it's going to be a festering, bloody, infected wound. It is like malignant cancer, and it will suck you dry and drain you. Therefore, you need to rip off that Band-Aid, people. You need to rip off that Band-Aid, and you need to tend to your wounds. That is the first step to healing from narcissistic abuse. Next, we're going to get into other factors involved. And trust me, there are so many different things that go into place with the whole topic of healing from narcissistic abuse and toxic siblings, whether it was your husband, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your family, mother, father, sisters, what have you. You know, there's just so much involved that this video can't even touch on all of it. So today we're just going to touch on what comes to my mind, especially in my healing journey. And so we have to go through it to get to the other side. And so what does this mean? This means that, you know, for all of us, we're unique people, you know, so whether you're a male or whether you're a female or whatever you consider yourself to be, we have different personalities, we have different backgrounds, we have different history, we have our, you know, different mental health. So like my mental health and your mental health and my physical health and your physical health, and then the way I handle things and the way you handle things may be very, very different. And there's not a right or wrong way to healing. You know, we have to understand that healing is not linear. Instead, healing, especially from narcissistic abuse and toxic families, is more like a zigzag. It's up, it's down, it's all around. And you will have days where you can feel okay, and then you may have days where you hit rock bottom, where you're cussing, you're crying, you're praying, you're pleading to God, please stop this. I understand. Trust me. I've been there. I've done that. I get it. It is a process that feels like climbing a mountain. And so you're climbing and you're climbing and you're climbing that mountain. And the higher you get, you're going to have times where you might stumble. You might have to hang on with all your might. You might have to stop and catch your breath. You might have to pause and just say, for this moment, I'm going to be still. I'm going to just breathe. And that is what you do. And that is how you handle that moment in time. And then there's other days where you're just going, man. You're just going. You're climbing that mountain and you're getting higher and higher. And you're starting now, you can breathe. You're starting to see the light and it really feels good. And then you realize, I'm not having any more nightmares. I'm actually feeling pretty well. I'm actually feeling liberated and free. And you know, this is the whole journey, you know, climbing that mountain. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 1 month, nor 1 year. I can't even say that in 10 years or 20 years, you're just going to get over it. Instead, I'm going to say that with the healing process, with the grief, with everything that you're going through, all the emotions involved and the boundaries and the physical and emotional and spiritual aspects of a recovery, for you, it could be something that takes time. It takes years, because every year we are expanding, we are changing, we are transforming. And what we see today, we didn't realize back 2 years ago. So where I was 2 years ago, that's not where I am today. I'm so glad. I am so glad, people. I'm telling you, it may have only been 2 years of going no contact. It may have only been 2 years of saying, I'm done. I'm done with a narcissist mother. I'm done with my toxic siblings. I'm done with my malicious in-laws and their families that are malicious. And here's the thing. I am done, and I have been done, and I have been doing the hard work of recovering. But oftentimes, the narcissist and or the flying monkeys will chase you down. They'll mob you. They'll stalk you. They'll try to go onto your social media page and they'll leave horrible comments about you. They will have retaliation, or they will seek and aim to harm you. And oh, do they throw those arrows. But know this. You don't have to mind them. You don't have to pay attention to them. You don't have to cave into them. Don't take the bait. They're baiting you. They're provoking you. They are hoping that you will cry, that you will scream, that you will flip out. Don't give them the time of day. Do you understand that if you don't give them ammunition for their narcissistic supply, they are getting bored with you? Oh, they're bored because now you're not reacting, and now you're not crying and swearing and flipping out and trying to defend yourself. Spare yourself, people. Spare yourself, because the healing is in going no contact. The healing is in not engaging with the malicious people who are trying to upset you. They want an emotional reaction from you. They want you swearing at them. They want you losing it, because then they could say, I told you she's crazy. I told you he's crazy. Oh, is she crazy? Oh, she's the problem. He's the problem. What? You know how that goes. Come on, we've been through this. We've already talked about this before. So it's really, really important that you do take time to take that deep breath and pause, especially if your toxic siblings or whoever the abuser is, whoever the narc is, whoever this person is who is mistreating you. It is really, really vital for you and your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. If you just kind of put the brakes on, slow down, maybe unplug, maybe just unplug. If they sent you a text message, if they sent you an email, if they wrote something nasty on your Facebook page, pause for a minute and don't react, because that is what they want to do. And we don't want to give them any narcissistic supply. So we have to be in control. That's really vital. Next is this. And that is that because your personality is different, because your history is different, because your awareness and this place in time, like wherever you are at right now in this kind of healing journey, we're all in a different place. So where you start and where I start, totally different. And that's okay. That is perfectly fine. We have to know too that another thing that comes into play is, are you an introvert, an extrovert, or an ambivert? An ambivert's kind of like somewhere in the middle of an extrovert and an introvert. I used to really believe I was an extrovert because I'm a pretty bubbly person and I'm very talkative and I can talk to anybody at any time, almost about any topic. It comes very easy for me. But then I took a little test and I found out, you know what, I do have a bit of ambivert in me, because there are times when I need to just be alone. And because I am a highly sensitive person and an empath, I really need space by myself to kind of like refuel my batteries. But once I do, I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to be a social butterfly all over again. But there are times when I really, really do need to just kind of be quiet, be in my own space, just kind of chill out. And so understand that your whole personality and the way you respond, your history. Another thing, this is super important. Another thing that comes into play with healing from narcissistic abuse and from toxic relationships is that what was the relationship? Who was this person? So was it a husband, a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend? Or was it a mother, a father, siblings, grandparents? Was it your boss? That has a big impact on it. Now, while all of them are very, very, very painful, I have to say that if you grow up in a narcissistic family, that is 10 times worse. Okay, why? Why is it worse? Because it started since the day you were born. Because you've been bullied and manipulated, gaslight, name called, pushed around, and abused from such an early age. And that is how a lot of people who do suffer narcissistic abuse, how they end up with complex PTSD or regular PTSD, and they might have depression and anxiety, and they might have panic attacks, and there's a lot of different things that could happen because of trauma. So trauma hurts and trauma pierces the soul and it's crushing. And no, we don't just get over it. So for you people saying, oh, just move on, obviously you don't know what narcissistic abuse is, because anyone who is educated and fully aware and knowledgeable about toxic relationships are also very well aware that it takes a long, long time, and it can take a lifetime to fully grieve and work through and process the horrific pain. Next is that there are some tips involved in helping you heal. And so understand that what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. And that is perfectly fine. But I'm always open and willing to give tips on what helped me. And so 2 years ago, it was 2018, in the month of July, when I went no contact for the first time with my narcissistic mother and my 4 older siblings, as well as their families. And the one thing I want to kind of just give like a side note in case you're new to this, meaning this is the beginning stage for you of being in a narcissistic relationship. Maybe you just discovered it is a narc. Maybe you are finally connecting the dots. So this needs to be said, that usually when we go no contact with the narcissist, what happens is other people will shame us, blame us, gaslight us, manipulate us, retaliate against us, especially if it's your family of origin. So there will be a lot of brutal confrontations in which I have experienced for myself. It's not worth wasting my breath. It's not worth defending myself, trying to explain myself. You know, when you have gone 50 plus years in this dysfunctional dynamic with the birth family and generational abuse, it's not worth my energy to even explain myself. So instead of defending myself and explaining myself, because remember, they don't care what you think. No matter what you say to these people, they will diminish, they will minimize, they will deny, they will lie about everything, and they will call you crazy. They will blame you. They will shame you. They will say, it's your fault. It's all you. Oh, it's all of us against you. Oh, I've heard it all. I've heard it all. But what happens is when you go no contact with, say, the narcissist, and in my case, it was my mother back in 2018, what happened was the siblings were furious, okay? And, you know, regardless of how they feel, my relationship with my mother is my relationship. That's mine. That's mine. I call the shots. I call the shots on what I do, what I don't do, how I respond, how I don't respond, how I react, and whatever I choose to do within that relationship, even ending that relationship. That's my choice. Nobody gets to control our choices. But what happens is typically in a family or even in a marriage, say you end up with an ex, you get divorced from your spouse, and this spouse was a narc. And then before you know it, you have their family attacking you, you have their friends attacking you, they're gaslighting you, they're manipulating you, they're lashing out at you, they're swearing at you. Some of them might threaten your life. I mean, seriously, people, we have to know this. If you don't know it, please understand there are times our own safety is jeopardized, in which you might have to get a restraining order on these people who are abusive and toxic. Don't hesitate to get on the phone and call the cops, or dial 911, or go to family court, the division of family court, wherever you live, and try to get a restraining order if you are feeling threatened and you feel that your life is in harm or in danger. But we have to understand that, when I went into contact with my mother, my siblings and I ended up going no contact too. And the reason why is because they did not understand. They refused. They live in denial. And here's the thing. We cannot change nor fix other people, including our birth family. We can't change them. We can't make them believe us. We can't make them validate us. We can't make them understand. I could talk until I am blue in the face. They won't ever understand. Okay? And so we release it. You know that whole saying, bless and release, bless and release, bless and release. And that's what we do. We bless and release. Let God be the judge. He'll take care of them. Mark my word, they will reap what they have sowed. But we must not let this jeopardize our healing journey. So if it ends up these other people are furious with you, too bad. Because guess what? They don't get to control you. They don't get to dictate you. They don't get to narrate your story and this chapter in your life. Okay? You've got to take your power back, people. That in itself is extremely liberating and freeing, and it does give you peace of mind. Okay, next is let's move on and get into some tips on how to heal from these narcissistic relationships. And remember, the timeline is really not the focus. So we're not going to say, it's really important that you do this in a year. No. Instead, it's more like take one day at a time. Take one day at a time. Stay focused, practice self-care, and take one day at a time. Okay, so number one is we must accept that we can't change or fix the narcissist or any of the toxic people. Okay, so we have to move into acceptance. And by doing so, that is really helpful. Because we're not going to deny it anymore. We're not going to pretend it's not happening. We're going to actually be truth seekers, and we're going to say the truth, because when we speak the truth, it sets us free indeed. Next is number two, we're going to build better boundaries. Now, my boundaries and your boundaries might not look the same. And again, there is no judgment on that. You have to decide what's important to you. What do you want to do to protect your boundaries and to stand firm in them? And then you must stand firm in them, because here's the thing. You could bank on it that once you build better boundaries, the toxic people are going to come around and trample all over them, and they're going to try to light a fire under your rear end to see how you react. Oh, they want you to react. They want to provoke you. And so that's why they do what they do. The whole thing with smear campaigns and retaliation and bullying you and harassing you and saying horrible things about you. This is common, and we should expect it. But we must still stand firm in our healthy boundaries. Next would be that we need to really focus on self-care and improve our health. Now, this means our physical health, our emotional health, our spiritual health, our financial well-being. We need to do whatever it takes to take care of our own selves, because that is really, really important. The stronger you are and the more self-confidence you have, the healthier you are, the more you're going to be able to stick with your healthy boundaries and be in no contact with toxic people. Next is It's okay to feel whatever you feel. So if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're mad, if you're frustrated, if you're confused, if you're enraged, if you're grieving, if you feel heartbroken, if you feel lonely, if you feel lost, this is also common. Okay, so when there is a major relationship that crumbles and now it's broken and then it's ended and you may have walked away, you may have gone no contact, or maybe you're gray rocking, which means you're having very, very little contact with this person. It's very common for us to go through this roller coaster of emotions. You know, one day you're up, the next day you're down, one day you're mad, the next day you're doing pretty well, you know. So we have bumps in the road, and that is what happens when we are on this healing journey and we're still processing everything that happened. Next is, don't try to explain yourself to the narcissist. So if you end up saying to the narcissist that you can no longer be in this relationship, and you do try to explain yourself, and you do try to go no contact, but they keep texting you, sending you messages, trying to contact you on social media, maybe they show up at your door, maybe they go to your workplace, and they're hounding you, and they're spying on you, and they're threatening you, don't waste your time, people. I mean, if you need to get a restraining order, don't hesitate. Please, please, please take care of yourself, because these narcissistic people, they are the masters of manipulation, and they will try to manipulate you in any form and fashion. They may even play the victim card, and they'll say that you're the narcissist, and they'll say that they're the victim. I mean, this is the kind of like crazy three-ring circus that goes on with these kind of relationships, but don't fall for it, and try to stay focused, because that is going to help you on your pathway to healing. Next is, going no contact, in my opinion, is crucial. Now, I know some people can't, so let's talk about a few of the people who are just not in that position to go no contact. If you are married right now to the narcissist, you just might not be able to go no contact at this moment. There might be financial challenges in which you just can't move out just like that. However, you can make a plan. Oh, it's time to make a plan. Plan of action. Get organized. Get your finances in order. Get your life in order. Have an idea on what you'd like to do, where you'd like to be, say even 1 year from now, and really focus on the step-by-step taking action so you could finally leave the narc. Now, if you are divorced, say you're no longer married to the narcissist, but you have children. Number one, I feel sorry for you. I feel so bad. I mean, I can't even fathom what you go through, because, I have not experienced that, but I have a lot of friends who have experienced that, and they've shared how painful it is, because the narcissist will usually use the children as a wedge to get back at the person who's no longer with them. So if you're a survivor of narcissistic abuse and you were married to them, but now you're divorced to them, but you have children to them, you're stuck, because you will have these kids that are part of your life. And this person does too. They're the parent also. And that means you have to co-parent with a narc. Now, that's not easy, people. I understand how complicated this is. And therefore, you may have to gray rock. And you do what you need to do. Perhaps you could do as little as possible communication with a narcissist. But please, please take screenshots of everything going on, all the nastiness. Oh, you need to get your evidence, because if you land back in divorce court or any kind of legal type of disagreements with this person, you need to have proof of what they're doing. So take documentation of everything. Next is that there are people who are young. There are people who are underage. There are people who are not yet living on their own. They might have a narcissistic sibling or parent or grandparent or someone who they're living with, and they're not in a position to leave yet. So that is another challenging aspect for those who are in the midst of turmoil with toxic relationships. And my heart goes out to you. And I'm really sorry for what you're going for, but still continue focusing on yourself, your self-care, your boundaries, and your healing. Next, seek peace, joy, and gratitude for how far you've come. So perhaps it was a year ago when you went no contact. Perhaps it was 6 months ago when you finally realized, oh my goodness, my mother or my father or my sibling or whoever it may be is a narcissist, and they're very abusive and they're very manipulative and they're so hurtful, and I'm heartbroken. And so if you're in this situation, look back, whether it was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, and on and on and on. We have to look back, look back and see how far you've come, because now you're over here. Now you're so much wiser. You're so much stronger. You have courage. You've had breakthroughs and you have learned and educated yourself a lot. And that has been helping you in this progress to effectively heal and recover and restore your own life and your own happiness. Next is that healing narcissistic abuse and toxic relationships takes time. It's draining, it's excruciating, and it's devastating. And I understand because I've been there and I've done that. Hey, I'm still on the journey too, people. I'm still walking up that mountain also. I'm still climbing the mountain, people. And yet every good deed that you do to yourself, you're doing kind things for yourself, every act of self-care, all your healthy boundaries, they are taking you one step closer to feeling better, to recovering, to having peace of mind, to feeling freedom, and to living the life that you are destined for. And so share with me what is happening with you in your healing journey. Are you at the beginning stage, the middle, or the end? Are you still living with a narcissist and trying to figure out how to get set free from them? Have you gone no contact? If so, share with me. I'd love to hear your stories and see how each of you are doing. And the meanwhile, you can reach out to me at danaarcuri.com. Thanks and have a wonderful day.